I had a vision from God, and it was like this end time rapture type dream, where, well, at least what we would call the rapture, and it was nothing like I expected, because I grew up in the era of people believing that when the rapture happens, or when when Christ returns, that we just vanish and our clothes are left behind, and that was it. Everybody just disappears. That was, called up to meet him in the air. But it wasn't like that at all. It was one of these encounters where it's at night and I'm inside of a house and I hear this commotion outside. Like people are just like in awe of something. And I remember thinking, what's happening? So I go outside and it's dark, and it was late at night, and my brother was with me. He comes out here with me onto this porch, and we look, and in the distance we see this wave. It's going up. I mean, as high as you can see. It's like thousands of feet up, and it's just this wall of ocean. It's like a tidal wave that's the biggest thing I could ever imagine. And I got this feeling like, oh my gosh, this is inescapable. This is going to wipe out everything. And everyone was just kind of in a panic. And as I was reflecting on it, I heard God's voice right into my ear as plain as day. He said, I'm gathering my elect with the four winds. And whatever it was about God saying that to me, it gave me comfort, it gave me peace, and instantly I knew this was something God was doing. And I grabbed my brother's wrist and I said, this is for us. And I don't know how I knew to do this, but I reached straight up and something pulled us both. It was like this wind just brought us straight up, and we were going straight up the side of this wave. And we were going up towards the heavens, and I remember being so excited, and it was like we were flying straight up, like we were being pulled up. And that was the end of the dream, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And at this time, this is 8 years ago, I was not well versed in scripture like I am now, where I would have recognized that scripture. When God said that to me, I couldn't recall that verse. I couldn't have quoted it to you. It wasn't until later that I was reading scripture in the book of Matthew, and I saw this, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started coming across all of these other people, all these other believers who were like, I had this vision of this giant wave, and this was the end of times. And I'm like, wow. So a lot of other people were having the same vision I was. So I started going to the Word and saying, what is this about? And it was just so different than, I guess, our mainstream version of Christ's return. And if you look at Matthew 24, this is what really shook me. It says, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. And this is talking about when the Lord returns. It says, then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from the end of the heavens to the other. So from one end of the heavens to the other, he's gathering us with the four winds. And the fact that this was, I had this vision from God before I even understood this passage, before I could recall this to you, and seeing it in the Word, I was just like, wow, this is talking about the return. And when you go into the book of Daniel, it says, in my vision at night, and that's where I was. It was at night. I knew it was, it was late. And he says, I looked, and there before me were the four winds of heaven churning up the great sea. So here's the sea being churned up, and and it just brought me to mind of that vision I had, where the sea, the ocean, it was just like this wall of ocean, and I was like, my gosh, what is happening? And when you look at in Daniel's end time visions, it says, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. So we are seeing, and that's in Daniel chapter 7, we are seeing these end time prophecies talking about the four winds. And our Messiah said specifically that his elect are being gathered with the four winds. So it wasn't like what I expected, but I thought, this is something that everyone, there were so many people are confused about this end time gathering. What's it going to be like? And when God showed me that, it brought me back to this encounter where it talks about specifically the sun is going to be darkened, the moon's not going to give us light, and we're given that specific reference to the four winds. Now, what exactly does it mean? Man, I don't know, but I thought it was worth sharing, because I know that day is approaching, that we are right at the door of our Messiah's return, and need to be ready when he comes back. We need to be eagerly awaiting his return. Thank you all for listening. God bless.